Frogman, better known as Ryan. And do you know what the scariest thing in the world is? Monsters? The ocean? Politicians? EA? No, it's change. Everybody fears it, and everybody always says that it can always never lead to anything good. Change will always bring about bad things, and it can only ever lead to chaos and mayhem. Well, my pants have been freshly shit. I think it's about time that I do a horror game then.
Amnesia the Bunker is a horror game made by Frictional Games, released in June of 2023. This is the fourth game in the Amnesia series. Before we get our titular amnesia, we must learn about our setting and how to move our body. So, to whip up some motivation, we're dropped into the World War, and we are fighting against the German front. We play as Henri Clement, a French soldier.
What?
I suppose that's one way to drive up the horror of this game, forcing people to get a Frenchman to survive. Blatant and gross discrimination aside, we're taught the basics of the engine and how to use the items we find. We're given a gun right off the bat with no bullets? How do you drop yourself into a war zone and not have ammo for a revolver? And before you comment on why this is the case, I'll have you know that I'm eagerly awaiting a reason, because I would like to know if this is normal or complete lunacy. On the topic of lunacy, every box of revolver bullets comes with one catch. They forgot their S's at home. 1 bullet per box? What's the rest of this box used for? Padding?
Huh. My SD card came in.
Plus, the loading of the gun is awkward as all hell. Tapping R takes out and puts away the revolver, but you may be asking, if R is used, how do you reload? You have to hold R to see how many bullets you have, and if you have some to load, you gotta click to load every single bullet. However, you do get a feel for the weird controls, and once the bullets are in there, it does act like a gun. Running through the area, we may encounter some different elements to remember once our journey starts, and I will blaze through all of them. Heavy bricks can break doors, grenades can blow up doors, red barrels blow up, tables can be crawled under, items can be crafted, and we have a friend in this war. Who's lucky we turned off friendly fire. Trapped in a trench and gassed, we shift to a blurry scene of our friend getting put on a death mission, I guess? We then make the 200 IQ play and tread out into no man's land to find them. And probably we do find them and try to carry them back when... Oh... Like, honestly, what did we expect here? We are then given a message saying how we are on our own now and it's up to us to survive. Hey, bonus, my high school teacher told me the same thing when I graduated. We wake up in an infirmary and sure enough, we are on our own. Look around a bit and you'll be a damn fool not to stumble into this lit room and acquire the flashlight. It's a crank flashlight that lights up the area in front of you when you pull the string, and oh my god, is this thing loud! It's no problem though, we're in friendly territory. There's no reason to be afraid of making noise, right? Right? More searching, we come across a soldier who's definitely had a bad day. Yeah, smoking will catch up to you. He gives you his revolver to end his life, and you would think there'd be bullets in it, or at least casings showing that it was used. But I guess he just thought it was really pretty because it's completely empty. We're directed to the pantry where we can find some bullets, and... hey, can I try that again? At this point, you're supposed to use something to break the lock on the door to advance, and dumbass me wanted to preserve this guy's wish. Plus, I wanted to take advantage of the team kill being turned on, but I had no bullets to shoot the lock. Desperate for answers and searching literally everything else, I pick up a brick to smash the lock, and... I'm gonna go play Stardew. I have no idea why this didn't work, as future testing shows that that's how it's supposed to progress without bullets. But sometimes the mechanic in this game just don't sometimes. I'll get back to that later, because right now I've found the safe room and generator. You're given a code to get out of the room and it appears in your tab menu. Plus you get a stopwatch to allow yourself the ability to know how much time you have with the lights on. Once the door lock is off, you're set to explore the bunker. Kind of. There is a lockdown in effect, meaning you cannot explore anything outside of the officers' quarters and the mission storage. However, during the time you might notice clouds of dust appearing in those rather large holes in the wall with some disturbing sounds coming out of them. I'm not gonna lie, the tension and buildup in this game is great. The monster is such a foreboding threat and it hasn't even shown up yet. I found myself flinching at every single bump and rattle going on the walls, and every time I had to leave the safe room, it was always mixed with a sense of dread and fear. And I'm not saying this because I'm just some fresh out of the womb Yeah, I've seen my fair share of scary stuff in my time. Like, have you seen Bandit without his dark fur? At this point, the gameplay will deviate from everybody else's, as you can now explore any part of the bunker as you wish. You will naturally face different obstacles, as there are certain key items needed to reach certain areas. Most notably, going to the prison will have you find a vent grate with large bolts preventing entry into the warden's office. Thankfully, you can find an important note next to it saying that the wrench is in maintenance. I really appreciate the distinction of important notes, as I certainly would have missed information had it not been for the neat little pin next to them, pushing me towards how to solve more puzzles. One thing I love about the puzzles and environment in this game is that everything is conveyed very clearly, and the mechanics more often than not work in your favor. One of the loading screen tips suggests to experiment and quote, "If you think something is possible, it probably is." I really like this mindset, and the world is very good at rewarding this type of experimentation. But let's not be confused here. This game isn't some magical world of super simulations where everything is possible. You're clearly not able to shift the few debris and escape because the game won't allow it, but it's very good at conveying to the player what is and isn't possible. If you see some poorly placed rats and have a flare, you can scare them away. Grenades also work with that. And while we're at it, grenades are also great for stubborn doors, or you could just use a brick. The only issue is, if for whatever reason the solution doesn't work the first time, like my previous door smash, then it might lead you astray, making you think that certain things aren't possible. Which is a little bit upsetting, but I guess it's just a limitation of the engine we're being used. That being said, however, most of the oddball solutions to get things open are also solutions that are boomy. And when things get loud, you can attract some attention. As advertised, the biggest threat is the monster crawling through the walls and listening for your every footstep. Making any sort of noise triggers the monster to start finding you, honing in on your location and popping out of the nearest hole available. Let me just say that this monster made me tread lightly throughout the whole experience. I could not bring myself to even use the flashlight, and I was scared at every moment of making too much noise and attracting the big bad dude. It's a very effective monster that always keeps the pressure up when you don't have any defense. Ow. I found that once you start uncovering ways to utilize the various weapons and explosives in the bunker, the threat of the monster becomes a little more manageable. It is still a threat, don't get me wrong, and if you can't get a handle of the throwing arc, then you might as well just kiss your ass goodbye. But say you know exactly which hole it's gonna come out of, and you've got your handy dandy grenade ready. It becomes a little bit trivial. And threats become even more trivial once you find the lighter, which pretty much unlocks a third of the items available to you. To me, the lighter seems far too integral of an item to be a late game thing. Without it, you can't use the Molotovs you've been crafting, all the torches can't be used, and every single body with rats surrounding it will eventually populate again, which will block your path forward. Personally, I found the lighter way later into my game, but it's hard to judge when somebody will get the lighter when its location is randomized per playthrough. Which brings me to another aspect of this game. Every code and certain other items are randomized. This means you can't be a bitch and look up all the codes and speedrun the game, but what it also means is that things like the gas mask and the precious bullets will never be used throughout the whole game because the dog tag was in a late area. There are some dog tags that have fixed locations, preventing certain impossible scenarios, but the way this is brought up at the end of the game advertises it as no two games are the same, when in reality it's just making us do the same steps with differing methods. Quite frankly, the game is good enough as it is without the weak sauce infinite possibility angle with the randomized codes. I had a good time being scared shitless by your demon baby, and I had a fun time fighting him in the weird final confrontation. My first instinct is not to go back running into the darkness to see how entering 6969 in the door will change my experience.
Overall, Amnesia the Bunker is a very solid horror experience. The monster is very menacing and very scary throughout the whole experience. Plus, using the lights and other methods to open doors is a very nice risk that will always keep you on your toes throughout the whole time. It lost a little bit of fear factor with me once weapons became more plentiful and I unlocked the lighter, but then it turned into a game of cat and mouse where I was then tasked with being able to defend myself in a short period of time, and if I failed, then it would be an awkward conversation with 60 Teeth McGee over there. It kept the tense moments when it mattered, and I think that's great for this type of horror game. And speaking of horror, how do I explain to the person who lives here the shit stains on this chair?